We are back with another episode of Explosive Topics. On today's episode, we are talking healthcare in Ghana. In case you're wondering, what is healthcare like here? Does insurance exist? What happens if you have an emergency situation? Well, we're getting into all of that right after this. So I have been extremely satisfied with the healthcare system here in Ghana, but there are moments where I have also been very disappointed. So I've had the opportunity of visiting both private healthcare here in Ghana as well as government healthcare. So there was a time when my husband's father had to go to the hospital, and he was fortunate enough to be able to go to a private facility, which was extremely beautiful. I've done a previous video on that, so you guys should go check it out. And then I've also had the opportunity of visiting government hospitals. So there was another time where he also had to go to a government hospital in Accra. That was a nightmare. I also covered that, and you can also find that video on the channel. So my daughter is diagnosed with asthma since before we left the US. So coming here to Ghana, I thought that things would be okay, but she did have a flare up. I was like in panic mode because I'm like, I don't know what healthcare is like here in the Cape Coast area. I have not had that experience yet. So we take her to one of the local hospitals, government hospitals here called in Tibetan, which is supposed to be one of the best hospitals in the area because it's also a teaching hospital. I was very satisfied with the care that they provided to her, and they were just overall very compassionate, understanding. But the downside to the facility is that it's a little bit on the old side and they lack proper sanitation. There's a point in the process where we have to go and make payment. As we're going to make payment, we are literally stepping over a huge pool of blood in the middle of the hallway. This patient isn't in a room, but is just on a stretcher in the middle of the hallway, and blood was everywhere. But outside of that, the doctors know exactly what they're doing. Like, not for one time did I question that they did not know what they were doing or that they were not skilled in their specialized area of interest to handle her situation. They got her asthma under control. They gave us the necessary prescription for the medications that we needed, and it was a great experience. And then we just recently had a situation with Emmy, the baby. She was outside playing and she broke her arm. I detailed that vlog and I posted it on my TikTok account. So if you are not following me on TikTok, be sure to go head on over, follow me, and check that video out. Again, this time around, we revisited in Tibetan because we had such a good experience with them the first time. So for Emmy, it was a no-brainer that, of course, we're going to take her there because we know that those doctors know what they're doing. So we took Emmy in Tibetan. Again, the care was phenomenal. However, the only thing that I would say is that healthcare in Ghana is extremely lacking for people who don't have the money. The way they made such a big deal about payment, like, oh, nope, you got to make payment before she can go get an x-ray. Oh, nope, you got to go make payment before this and before that. We got to have payments. And I'm just like, really? The first thing on your mind is payment when you're dealing with a baby? She's 3 years old. She's in pain. She has a broken arm. And the only thing you're talking to us about is payment? So for that, I was extremely disappointed because I feel like when there's emergency situations, especially concerning children, the last thing that you should be concerned about is payment. Your main concern and priority should be the well-being and welfare of this child. And as I've told you guys, while the care they provide is extremely amazing, it is not the cleanest facility. So it came a point in our process there where they asked us to stay overnight. I was like, here. They requested this because the orthopedic was not available, and the orthopedic wasn't going to be available until the following morning. We ended up being able to work it out where we were able to splint her arm for the night. She was able to go home. And because she's little, now they want to be so concerned and they want to monitor her overnight. And I was just like, not happening. There's no way that I'm staying in this hospital overnight. So they ended up splinting her arm, and we were able to take her home for the night, closely monitor her. In the morning, we just brung her right back. Took a little bit of time, but they got everything done, and they did such an amazing job. So if you're ever in the Cape Coast area and you're thinking, what can I do if I'm in an emergency situation? And Tibetan is for sure one of the best hospitals, hands down, around. Now that's my experience. But what about people who can't afford health care? And as I just mentioned to you, how they were hounding us for payment. Like they were not playing about this payment. Fortunate enough, we're in a situation where we can afford the medical care. But what if we was in a situation and we couldn't afford the payment? Are you just gonna let us die? Like, what are we doing here? When it comes to the medical system here in Ghana, they value money over the responsibility of ensuring that the patient is safe, sound, and out of the emergency situation that they are in. It pains me to know that there are people here, elderly, or people living in poverty who just cannot afford it. And to know that they are suffering because they don't have access to the necessary finances in order to fund their medical care, it just saddens me. And yes, they do offer health insurance, but with health insurance, a lot of things are not covered. There's a lot of prescriptions and treatments that a person may need when they go to the hospital that's not covered under insurance. So it almost makes no sense to even get medical coverage here in Ghana. If there should be an emergency, they do have ambulance service. However, again, it requires payment. The ambulance isn't just coming to pick you up for free. So no money, no ride to the hospital. And the GPS system here in Cape Coast, at least, doesn't necessarily work. So if it's an emergency and you are requiring emergency medical transportation, they may not even be able to find you in time. And then if they do find you, they are requiring payment in order to transport you from where you are to the hospital. And again, I question, what if you don't have a car? What if you don't know anybody with a car? What about those people who are living in villages with no access to transportation? What happens to them when they're in an emergency situation? What do they do? The healthcare system here in Ghana, to me, is not set up to accommodate all, especially those living in poverty. Those who have money are the ones that get to enjoy good health care. And I don't think that's fair at all, especially when it comes to children. And to see their response to a child in distress who has had a traumatic experience as it is, and the only thing that you could think of is money, tells me a lot about how they even treat locals. It just saddens me. It saddens me to know that the healthcare system here in Ghana is failing so many people. It saddens me to know that so many people have underlying health conditions that they can't even receive treatment for because they don't have the finances to. And it saddens me to know that not even children and babies are considered in this matter. This is 2024, and there is no reason why all Ghanaians should not have access to adequate medical care. And this particular situation, oh yes, I'm fully, wholeheartedly putting on the back of the government. There should never be a moment in time where anyone visits the hospital and they're denied treatment because they don't have the finances to cover it, especially not children and babies. Where do we go from here? What do we do? We build better health care here in Ghana, and there is no other option. I'm Melody. You've tuned in to Just Blog with another segment of explosive topics. Drop a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. And before y'all go, be sure to like, comment, and share this content with as many people as you can. If you're already family here on the channel, you already know the vibes. And if this is your very first time finding this channel, please have a seat and hit that subscribe button. I'll see y'all in the next video.